Welcome all to Hands Across the Sand. We're here today to take a stand for our ocean and beaches, and we'll join hands on the beach at noon to say no to expanding fossil fuel off our coast and to support a clean energy future. We've got a report here. It's from the Department of Energy. Our voices are more important than ever, and our elected officials need to hear from us and protect our coast from big oil. We've all seen what it can do. We've all seen the destruction. Senator Goldfinch recently stated there was no damage in the Gulf of Mexico from hurricanes. In 2005, there were 113 platforms destroyed, 52 platforms and 457 pipelines damaged from 3 hurricanes. And that is according to a Department of Energy report. We're going to hear from a group of people representing a broad spectrum of interest here on the Grand Strand. People who will tell you why seismic testing and offshore drilling in the Atlantic is a bad idea for South Carolina. Our first speaker, you know him well. I've known him for 20 years. Please welcome Wayne Gray, Myrtle Beach City Council for 12 years, an expert in banking and the hospitality industry who understands how one single spill jeopardizes our tourism economy, a champion against offshore drilling, Wayne Gray.
Thanks, Rick. I didn't realize I was an expert. Good morning to you. It's a beautiful day in Myrtle Beach. We've had a great spring weather here. I want to thank Joan Furlong with Soda. I want to thank the Surfrider Foundation and my fellow colleagues that are here this morning and will just come share a few moments with you. I want to tell you that I'm a proud member of the Myrtle Beach City Council that was one of the first municipal bodies along the coast of South Carolina that adopted a resolution several years ago that we forwarded to our governor and to our federal legislators that we were opposed to seismic testing and offshore drilling on the coast of South Carolina. And simply, I think that all of our council members realize and understand the importance of the tourism economy that it offers, not only to Myrtle Beach and the Grand Strand, but South Carolina. And let me just share a couple of statistics with you regarding that. You may have read just recently where the tourism industry in South Carolina is in excess of a $20 billion economic impact to the state of South Carolina. 1 in 10 jobs of a state with just over 4 million people, 1 in 10 jobs are either directly or indirectly related or associated with tourism. Now, half and over $1 billion of federal, local, and state taxes are collected via the tourism industry that pay for our schools, our roads, and our quality of life. And we know how important tourism is in South Carolina. The disposition of it, or the proportion of it as an economy in South Carolina, is far greater than Florida, California, or Virginia that have larger states and other commercial and industrial business activity. So any loss to that tourism economy would be devastating and impactful to South Carolina. Let me draw you the importance of that to Myrtle Beach and the Grand Strand, which is considered one of the prettiest, most beautiful stretches of beaches in the world, that 60 miles known as the Grand Strand. Half of the state's tourism industry is generated right here in that 60 miles. So half of that $10 billion, half of those 1 in 10 jobs, half of that $1 billion of taxes that are collected that pay for schools and roads and services to the rest of the citizens in South Carolina are generated right here in the Grand Strand and centered right here in Myrtle Beach. So that is the reason why Myrtle Beach City Council took a strong position to oppose seismic testing and offshore drilling. And that's the importance of this economy to our state. So I want to applaud you for your efforts. I'm thankful that I'm just a part of this group. The fight has got to continue. We'll take it to Columbia at the state capitol, and we'll certainly continue to take it to Washington. Thank you. God bless you, and have a great day.
Wayne Gray, everybody. Our next speaker, she's with the Surfside Beach Town Council, a realtor who is committed to protecting our beautiful, pristine coastline. Please welcome Julie Samples.
Good morning, everyone, and it's so happy to see you here. Thank you for the invitation to speak today. It is an honor to be here. Simple fact, exploratory and commercial drilling, extraction, and transportation of offshore oil and gas resources pose a significant risk of a spill. We need to be good stewards of our coastal environment and its resources, not only because of the economic and ecological impact on our area, but because we have a responsibility to the many people who call this place home. I'm appreciative of the Surfrider Foundation and SODA, Stop Offshore Drilling in the Atlantic, and its efforts to educate and illuminate. We are grateful to you for your efforts and hope that you continue to advocate for those of us who live along the beautiful Atlantic Ocean. Thank you so much. Hope you have a wonderful day.
Our next speaker, he's the founder of Myrtle's Inlet Seafood, strong advocate to protect commercial fishing from seismic blasting and offshore drilling, and members of the Small Business Chamber of Commerce. Please welcome Rick Baumann.
Thank you, folks. As you know, I'm into the fishing world, and us fishermen love and need a pristine ocean with which to catch the fish to feed all you folks with. So I'm here to lend my voice to the cacophony of voices from every single coastal community in South Carolina. All of us are vehemently opposed to seismic blasting and offshore drilling, and we have expressed that with unanimous resolutions from our elected officials. I'm also a member of the Small Business Alliance to Protect the Atlantic Coast, BAPAC. We represent over 40,000 businesses and 500,000 commercial fishing families from Maine to Miami, and all of us are adamantly against seismic blasting and offshore drilling. I'm a board member also with the Small Business Chamber of Commerce, and I can assure you that our chamber is dead set against seismic blasting and offshore drilling. In the Gulf of Mexico, where big oil has had its way, we often hear proponents of this foolishness give positive reference to Port Fourchon and the state of Louisiana. But the parishes or counties surrounding Port Fourchon are still amongst the very poorest in America, despite decades of involvement with big oil. Big oil is Louisiana's biggest employer and tax base, but lately the tide is turning. Big oil is now being sued by the state and several other entities for the gradual destruction of Louisiana's coastline and environment. There is no amount of money, no revenue sharing that can justify us selling our coastline and our ocean to the filthy, lying and accident-prone oil industry. The agencies and politicians responsible for the consideration of this ridiculous idea most certainly have heard us. And today they get to hear us all again. No oil. No way. Not here. Not ever. At this point, we've heard from the oil industry and their exaggerations and outright lies. Those statements have all been summarily devalued or disapproved. So I think it's time for the politicians who refuse to represent our wishes. They refuse to represent our wishes, but they represent big oil. We need to call them out. Senator Scott and Graham, listen to your constituents, not big oil. Our coastal economy will not be sacrificed for your version of energy independence, which is just a sham. We don't need or want the infrastructure on our coastline. We have no room for it. We will not tolerate it. And we urge the senators to join Congressman Rice, Sanford, and Clyburn and say with all of us, no oil, no way, not here, not ever.
That's the way to get them going. Okay, our next speaker is from SODA herself. Please welcome Joan Furlong.
Hi, everybody. So happy to see you all out here today. I'm a poor substitute for our good friend Mary Max, who is going to come out here today and talk about our sea turtles and, you know, what is seismic blasting going to do for the decades and decades of efforts that have gone in to protect the sea turtles and to restore them in this environment. The blasting is dangerous for all marine life, and don't be fooled. They say just because you can't see sound doesn't mean it isn't out there and isn't damaging our whales and dolphins and our commercial fishing. So SOTA, I know many of you know us. We're Stop Offshore Drilling in the Atlantic. We are your neighbors. We are residents, citizens, activists up and down the Grand Strand. Join us, sign up for our newsletter. We've got all sorts of information on who to contact in the State House and our federal legislators. Pick up the phone, write some letters. We have to send this message to Columbia and to Washington, D.C. So thanks for being here, and we'll see you out on the beach.
Our next speaker is a 2017 graduate from Coastal Carolina, Go Chanticleers, in environmental sustainability. She is the voice of the new generation fighting to protect our environment and your beaches. Please welcome Cassandra Ratcliffe.
Thank you all. I'm so happy to be here today. Now, I wouldn't call myself an expert, but I did graduate recently, so I like to think that means something. And I like to start off with a quote that a wise person once told me. When we harm the environment that sustains us, we harm ourselves, because all life is connected, whether we realize it or not. So throughout my undergraduate career at Coastal Carolina University, I was an environmental advocate, activist, and educator. And I also did extensive research on issues such as offshore oil drilling. I had some of the most amazing opportunities to study from the best of the best. I'm talking professors who have dedicated their lives to practicing what they teach, and those who have spent their lives immersing themselves in the diverse cultures of the world and have seen firsthand how oil drilling affects those communities. I have also been able to take what I learn and apply it here on a local level to the Grand Strand community. I've gone out and interviewed community members, done my own research to compose a project called Powering a New South. And I encourage you all to check it out, educate yourselves on some of these diverse issues, because it's not just about the environment. There's a lot of factors that go into these sort of things, and no hasty decision should be made. There's the economy, the social aspects, which we often forget about, the people of Myrtle Beach that live here, that depend on this pristine environment behind us. And so I encourage you all to go check out poweringanewsouth.com, educate yourselves, and then ask yourself, what kind of future do we want? Do we want to continue down the path that we've always known, or do we want to take a chance on a brighter and better future for future generations to come? Thank you.
Our next speaker is a Myrtle Beach activist and leader to create Charlie's Place, the historic African-American nightclub on Carver Street from 1930s to 1960s. He knows we need to develop more cultural tourism destinations in the Grand Strand, not dirty fossil fuel industries. Please welcome Herb Riley.
Thank you very much. First, I'd like to thank Joan and SOTA for inviting us out here, and thank you for coming. I'm going to take about a minute and introduce you to a project that we're working on and tell you how SOTA affects us and why I support SOTA 100%. South Carolina is a state blessed with a storied history of culture that predates the founding of this great nation. The lifestyle and history of our people, their art, architecture, culinary, military, and musical innovations, to name a few, have been the springboard of books, movies, and plays that highlight South Carolina's culture, such as Porgy and Bess, The Patriot, Forrest Gump, and a movie that I know most of you have never seen, but I hope you find it. It's called Brother Future, and it stars a young man from my community named Michael Burgess, and it relates to the founding of the historic Emmanuel Church. Brother Future, don't miss that. Also, we have they've tapped our cultural dances, such as the Charleston and the Shag, and these have become national and international phenomena. Cultural tourism is a long history. It is arguably the original form of tourism. It is the form of tourism that most policymakers seem to be betting on for the future. Now, we're in a unique position to contribute, shape, and define that future. For the last 2 years, we've been working on an initiative that highlights our local entertainment and culinary history, a story that has captured the attention and sparked the imagination of people coast to coast, from Colombia to Hollywood, California. Filmmakers from South Carolina, ETV, to New York, to Hollywood, are capitalizing on our cultural history and preparing to expose the state and nation to our story. This will create a new wave of tourism, and in partnership with the city and the business community, we will be ready to exploit this great opportunity. But in order for this to work, we must safeguard the amazing natural resource that draws people in all walks of life to Myrtle Beach. We must respect and protect that Atlantic Ocean. I'll say it again, that beautiful backdrop. We must respect and protect the Atlantic Ocean. This is the goose that laid the golden egg. This is the gift from God that has made the Myrtle Beach metropolitan area so great and so powerful in such a short length of time. It does not matter if you're a business owner, a restaurant worker, or a landowner. We're all in the same boat. We all depend on this beautiful ocean for our livelihood and leisure. We should all support the efforts to stop offshore drilling in the Atlantic. We have to stop offshore drilling in the Atlantic. We all have a horse in this race. We all do. And the stakes are much too high for us to lose. So support SOTA. Come out and support SOTA with your heart and your mind and your pocketbook. Thank you.
Our final speaker is the Surfrider Foundation Grand Strand, who will direct us to the beach for Hands Across the Sand. Here's Sandra Bundy.
On behalf of Surfrider Foundation, Grand Strand Chapter, and SOTA, I want to thank everybody out for coming to Hands Across the Sand today. As our speakers pointed out, seismic testing and offshore drilling in the Atlantic is not the answer for our coast, for our coastal economy, our fishery, our way of life. Now it's time to line up on the beach. Thank you.